Alright, let's do this. Hi, people. It's me. And I'm back cooking again. And, unlike Kay, I drink Foster's, not Stella. So, do you know what the most low-effort content on the entire internet is? People who read patch notes. I don't know why I used to watch these people have random background footage of Overwatch while they're reading patch notes for 45 minutes. I don't know why I used to watch those. That's really lame. It's just patch notes. You can just go to the website and read them yourself. But for some reason, I would watch people in Overwatch and Mr. Happy, Final Fantasy XIV. I would watch and listen to them read patch notes, and I don't know why I kept doing it. Because honestly, I don't know, that's just low effort content and it's really unnecessary. Do I really need someone to read something to me? Am I that lazy? May 16th, 2002. Final Fantasy XI PS2 goes on sale in Japan and service begins. The names for the 20 worlds were revealed. Bahamut, Shiva, Titan, Rama, Phoenix, Carbuncle, Fenrir, Sylph, Valifor, Alexander, Leviathan, the actual server, Odin, Ifrit, Diabolos, Kate Sith, Quetzalcoatl, Siren, Unicorn, Gilgamesh, and Ragnarok. Those are the servers the game started with on May 16th, 2002. On May 18th, there was a newspaper article in the National Newspaper of Japan in the advertisement column apologizing for the rough start the Final Fantasy XI experienced, such as double charging people for subscription fees and nobody being able to log into the dang game. In the summer of 2002, Final Fantasy XI themed snacks were part of Square's marketing plan, and 7-Eleven exclusively sold Final Fantasy XI themed Doritos, Cheetos, and popcorn. Included inside each bag was one of 27 possible Final Fantasy XI themed cards, featuring races and computer graphic opening cinematic screenshots from the game. Each card had a unique download to download a ringtone. May 23rd, a week after the game is launched, treasure pool adjustments hit. I'm not drunk. What are you talking about? You don't know how many beers I've had. Pugils in East Ronfru no longer drop shawl shells. This is because, on top of making them not drop shawl shells, they changed the value of things like land crab meat, crab shells, shawl shells, sleep shrooms, poison shrooms, woozy shrooms, etc. These things were vendoring for about 500 gil a piece at the time, and they said no bueno to that. And so a week after the game launched, the first minor update nerfed vendor prices. June 12th, the first big version update. If you play Thief, this is gonna make you sad. Here's where it begins. New features and content. The auction house opened because for the entire beta of this game and up until June 12th, there was not an auction house. So maybe you can understand, I guess, a little why they were trying to control how much gil was in the system, because there wasn't even an auction house yet. Everyone got to start on relatively the same gil footing, so that's why that nerf was put in place. And the first notorious monsters were implemented. Now, there were notorious monsters in the beta version, but they didn't drop anything. They were just there for bragging rights if you could beat them. So these were the first actual notorious monsters with unique item drops were put into the game. Job adjustments for Thief. Granted hand-to-hand skill. The effects of treasure hunters strengthened. That's nice. It's the only time that ever happened, by the way. A dexterity bonus added to sneak attack, because it didn't have one before. It was just a forced critical hit with 100% accuracy. And here's the one that will make you sad. Gil Finder used to totally remove the ability to receive gil drops from monsters and was finally fixed in this update, nearly a month after implementation. For the first month of this game, Thief, the job that was supposed to help you earn more money from drops and gil, if you played in a party with a thief, nobody got gil. nothing dropped any gil. So literally the first month of this game, Thief was shunned as a job, and no one really cared about it. Some things haven't changed at all, have they? Also, this was the first institution of the bind nerf. Fun note, bind on the beta version actually used to be called stop. It wasn't called bind. It lasted 60 seconds, and it couldn't be resisted, and damage did not break the bind. When Thief's Gil Finder finally started working, bind now became, well, kind of what you know today, more or less. And the sub-job quest had its level requirement increased from 10 to 18. This is because very early on in the game's life, the competition to get the magic skull in particular was so severe that pretty much no one had a chance at getting them. There was just not enough of them to go around. We're talking a couple, we had 4,500 players on beta when service went live. So you gotta imagine, that's a lot of players across 20 worlds all competing for magic skulls. So they figured by increasing the sub-job quest level requirement up to 18, it would take a little longer for people to get up to the point where they could even do the quest, and maybe in that time some other people can get their skulls, And there's actually a note from one of the dudes on here who talked about how when they implemented the sub job and all that, it was part of the progression system intended, where it's like, okay, they're going to get to this level and then they're going to go level something else again from level 1, because that's a necessary part of the game. That was kind of their hope of stalling things, but they kind of realized, I guess, that it wasn't helping. And no one was EXPing because they were just trying to get the magic skull, and everyone was getting into fights. And on the Shawl Shell thing, you should read this yourself too sometimes. But they talked about how the producer, he did not take an economics class when he was a student. And during the production of this game, he bought a book on micro and macroeconomics and read it really quickly and said it didn't help him very much. But he said that their core intention wasn't really to focus on the gil value of things, because that's deterministic by players, but competition for things, that they wanted to reduce that. And just having everyone go after the Pugils and East Ronfru for the Shawl Shells was making large volumes of people compete against things, and they didn't really like that. So similarly, that was their attempt to kind of circumvent the sub-job skull issue, and later on, that's why they started adding the magic skull can be obtained all the way over in the frickin' Maze of Shakrami. If you fight the undead over there, they will drop the magic skull for the frickin' Selbina sub-job quest, not the Mara one. Everyone wanted to just do the Selbina sub-job quest, so eventually they added the magic skull to Guskin Mines. It wasn't there originally. And then eventually that wasn't enough. They had to add it to Maze of Shakrami as well, just to disperse the players hunting the magic skull out more than they were. There, now you know why you can find the magic skulls all the way on the other side of the world. It's kind of weird, right? June 17th. Recruitment for Windows beta testing begins, and beta testing live also opens on the same day. I don't know if you've ever participated in a beta for a game. That's not usually how it goes. You sign up and then you wait about a month to find out you were rejected, but this was like, hey, sign up and play. This was one of those games. June 24th, monsters made unable to attack players on Chocobo, because you weren't immune to monsters on Chocobo until this point for some reason. Because things. June 25th, a level 50 cap is actually announced, and the first players reached level 50. In beta, the cap was level 30, and midway through the beta, they raised the cap up to 35. But they didn't increase the levels of any monsters, so people were just in parties fighting decent challenges, actually. But when the game went live, they didn't mention anything about a level cap. People were just kind of leveling up. They didn't tell anyone that the cap was 50. That's what they instituted at the time. And in the end of June 2002, the Square announced that the first players to reach level 50 would have their names published on the official site. They also announced that during the month, during that same month, they announced that the game was already prepared for players to go up to level 100. That's pretty crazy. Like, all the way back then, they were already, trying to code and structure this game to be a platform that could go up to level 100. That was their intention from the start. And on this same day, across all worlds, multiple players hit level 50 for the first time because they want the internet fame. Here's the good one. July 2nd, the patch from hell. I'm going to mention the note over here first so you understand why I'm talking about all this. This update will forever be known as the patch from hell. Many Japanese players refer to it as the Nightmare Week. It was said that most users did not like this update, and the protest emails rushed in. 2 days later, an announcement about a revision was posted. In the July 9th update, 2 days after what I'm talking about right now, many changes were partially reversed. Future updates never made this degree of change. The rumor on what triggered these changes was that players had managed to defeat the Orcish Overlord in the Monastic Cavern. Yeah, that's it. Just the Orcish Overlord. Because it was meant to be undefeatable at the time. So, rather than buff it, they just nerfed Dark Knight and Paladin, which were the quintessential jobs that were kind of linchpinning the fight being won in the first place. Right here, Paladin's MP was lowered to be that beneath of a red mage, and their HP was lowered to be that below a warrior. Adjustments to enmity for abilities like Provoke and Invincible. They were so greatly nerfed alongside Sentinel that players regarded them as useless and not worth activating. Dark Knight's MP was lowered to be that below a red mage, and Last Resort was nerfed so severely that nobody used it anymore, citing it's a DPS loss to even activate. The effects of level difference were finally defined, but monsters became almost impossible to hit with physical attacks or with magic. With the introduction of the level difference adjustment, monsters that checked above even match were impossible to kill by parties of 6. This created a situation where soloing on low-level monsters was far more effective than partying. Parameters like accuracy, evasion, magic defense were all removed from the status screen. That actually used to be on the status screen in the game. With Square citing, we would not like to ruin the fun of players discovering that for themselves. Though the real reason seemed to be that the numbers displayed were so greatly inaccurate, they decided to hide them altogether. Which is true, by the way. Oh, July 9th, just 2 days after this, it's like, okay, we messed up, people are unhappy, let's do some sweeping changes, you guys. Get ready for this. Red Mage, Dagger, Sword, Club Skill, and MP were all raised. They needed it, by the way. Thief, Hand-to-Hand and Sword Skills raised. Enmity generated from Steel lowered. Dark Knight given the ability to use Great Sword weapon skills. Yeah? Yeah? From early DAP mining, it was discovered that Ragnarok was listed as Paladin only. Dark Knights were not initially intended to have Great Sword skill. Sage Sunday, when he made his initial appearance in this game in the beta, he was actually equipped with a Ragnarok because he liked Paladin. It was his favorite job. And its stats were actually damage 999 with, I believe, a delay of like 100. That's what as far as I am aware, the quote-unquote Ragnarok was actually the first relic coded into the game. It just had its stats changed later on, but it was the weapon of choice for Sage Sunday himself. And only later on did they decide to allow Dark Knights to wield great swords. Bard, the duration effects of songs were shortened. However, they received Dagger, Sword, and Club Skill, formerly being an F and having 0 melee capabilities on their own of any kind. So yeah, Bards literally couldn't do anything on their own before. They had no means of putting out any damage. They 100% relied on other people to do anything. Not just in like a party context or something. I knew people in retail who had a bard, and they just, I farm elementals. I hit them with Dia, Foe Requiem, and then I stab them with my little pokey stick for a while, and I farm clusters that way. They couldn't even do that originally, but more on that later. Rangers were now able to use guns. Again, yeah? Who else used guns besides Ranger? Was it Thief? There was no ninja in the game. Did you put guns in the game and you only let a thief use them? Okay. The prices on arrows and bullets were lowered and made able to stack to 99 rather than the original limit of 12. Barf? Whoa. It's going to get worse. Received dagger and sword skill previously could only equip axes. Beastmaster, the duration of charm on pets is fixed to 5 minutes and 30 under the influence of familiar. However, depending on the pet's remaining HP, charm could be broken instantly if they received a critical hit. Yeah, so imagine you charm something, it's at 33%, it takes a crit, and it turns on you, because that's how it used to be. A crit broke charm. Imagine that, right? Magic added. Gravity and Horde Lullaby. NPC prices for songs were lowered. The formulas for how damage and accuracy change with level difference were reworked, and it is assumed that plans were implemented at this time for monsters leveled 70 to 80. Incredibly Tough added to Con. Previously only went up to Very Tough. An overhaul of experience points bonuses received for being in a party, because again, nobody partied. Gil dropped by Gigas type monsters reduced from 900 to 200. That would be good, even on Horizon today. Can you imagine walking into Delkfutt's tower and just mowing the lawn with Gigas and getting 900 per kill? Can you imagine, farming Alki bracelets or Enki or whatever, and just every Gigas kill you're picking up 900 gil? Bro. I'm not gonna lie, sometimes the older folks be talking about, I bought my first house and car for a nickel. It's like, well, yeah, Grandpa, because the economy of freaking 5 cents is worth $1 billion today. It's kind of different. It's not the same. Moving during heal now automatically canceled healing. That must have been really sticky, honestly, having to hit the heal button just to come out of it so you can start moving. I mean, who doesn't just, you want to break heal? Move the stick or press ASDW or press one of the arrow keys, one of the numpad keys, and you break your heal. It's so convenient having any of those inputs break your heal, quite frankly. And it was just now implemented? Ugh, sticky. Sticky. Massive elemental magic resistances were added to the game, and as such, Black Mage became known as the Gimp White Mage due to this major change. I love that one. It became known as the Gimp White Mage because basically its MP didn't exist to deal damage. There was no point in doing it. You're going to spend freaking 60 MP to do 5 damage, or do you want to use your MP to cure somebody and let the party keep going while you just, maybe toss out a bio or something? July 30th. The rank 5 mission 5-1 and 5-2 are added for all nations. But with a level cap of 50, nobody could beat the Shadow Lord. Mining is introduced. Although pickaxes and mithril seams existed before this update in order to proceed with rank missions, there was no mining for copper, zinc, flint, stones. It just didn't exist. Treasure chests are added to the dungeons with various rewards, which included things such as the Life Belt in Fei Yin and the Battle Gloves in KRT. Fame checkers were added and title changes were added. The POS feature was added so people would know where the heck you are on the frickin' map. Job adjustments. Mighty Strikes became Mighty Strikes, formerly known as Mighty Misses, by having its duration increased from 30 to 45 seconds. At least you'll probably hit one Great Axe swing during it now, won't you? Poor baby. Magic added. Teleport Hala, Dem, and Mia. Shelra, Protectorate 2, Warp 2, Fire Threnody, Wind Threnody, Earth Threnody, Lightning Threnody, Water Threnody, Light Threnody, Dark Threnody, and Magic Finale. A big deal because this was the first and currently only Dispel in the game. Dispel was not actually added until, this was July 30th. It took about 7 months for Red Mage to get Dispel. I'm jumping ahead a little bit, just FYI. So, Bard having a Dispel. Oh my gosh, Cocoon isn't gonna make us do 0 damage anymore? We can fight crabs? Whoa, okay. Bard's getting pretty cool now. This is getting pretty unique. Experience points bonus for larger parties was increased again because no one was partying yet. 200 EXP per kill was now the norm. Resist rates reduced when attacking enemies with magic containing elemental properties they're weak to, because they added a bunch of resists and forgot to make monsters have freaking weaknesses. So Black Mage was no longer the Gimp White Mage. The current day and weather were now displayed along with the compass, and this update also added day and weather bonuses to elemental magic, further attempting to allow Black Mages to do something besides cast Cure 1. High-level monsters' resist rates against enfeebling magic are reduced because no one could land debuffs. Not even Red Mage, basically. This is a fun and weird one to me. Well, just real quick. Players are now able to craft inside their Mog house. Thank God for that one, right? Just saying. I don't want people to know what I'm crafting. I don't want people to know what part of the market I'm influencing. I'm shady when it comes to business. I crafted my Mog house. Are you playing? I'll let people see what I'm making. The job change screen was removed from the game and was replaced with what we have now. A Moogle spinning in a circle with the animation flittering around the player. Again, you should probably look at this page yourself because there's a picture of it here. The old job change screen looked very similar to the character creation screen in-game. It pretty much, just like black faded you out to a completely different screen with a different like rendering, different rasterizing, higher resolution textures, everything. And that's what the job change screen was way back then. But I think people kind of complained that it's like, I don't like the fact that it takes me 2 minutes to change my freaking job. I just kind of want to be like, hey, Moogle, press my things. I'm done. I'm out. Let's go. I'm in a different job now. So that's when that finally happened. Oh, also, there's a fun note here. This is when the first Gil print was nerfed. There's a post on 2chan that if you got rank 5, which people could now do, go to the airship platform where you could buy an unlimited supply of silver ore, previously only acquired from the goldsmithing guild, which could run out. Players determined that they could just buy fire and wind crystals and buy an unlimited supply of silver ore at the airship platforms, sent them into silver ingots, turn the ingot into a silver hairpin, vendor the silver hairpin, and make around 15 to 30,000 gil an hour simply by buying crystals off the auction house. This got nerfed in about a week, and it was no longer a valid Gil print. Again, they were very concerned about too much Gil coming into economies and servers, and you'll see why in a little bit. September the 12th, the level cap is raised to 55. Experience point chains were implemented, but not displayed in the chat log. The ability to magic burst off a skill chain was added, but it was also not displayed in the chat log. High-level monsters such as Behemoth are added to their respective areas. No Fafnir, no Turtle. Those were in Zelartian zones, but Behemoth was the first of the kings to be added. Also, over 20 types of leader-class notorious monsters are added to each Beastman stronghold, and with them, a multitude of new sexy drops. These NMs would repop in just 16 minutes and did not have placeholders. although players who joined the fight halfway through would be unable to lot on the drops. So it's like an HENM, you got to be present when it starts and you can't leave. In the previous update, I mentioned that treasure chests were added. RSE was added in this update, and you could now talk to a goblin if you have the necessary fame in Juno to go on the quest for your RSE and acquire magical patterns for, what was at the time the absolutely most game-changing equipment in the game by literally a billion light years. There really was not a lot of stat up gear in the game at the time. There was HP, MP, defense, maybe a little bit of piddling whatever here and there, but they just added battle gloves and life belts pretty recently, and now you get RSE. This allowed Galkas to become mages. It allowed Tarus to become DPS. It was a big deal. There was no gear that gave those stats. They were so necessary for races to do the jobs that they were kind of designed to not be so good at. This is also the era when Galka Paladins started coming into prominence, obviously, because it's like, wait, I can actually have MP as a Galka? Let's go. Job adjustments. Thief. An error in which sneak attack would not work if facing northwest was corrected? What? Treasure Hunter 2 was also added. Oh, beautiful, happy day. Previously planned abilities such as Gill Finder 2 and Blast Attack were postponed. Blast Attack would later become Trick Attack. You heard what I just said, 55 cap. Items used to open chests, namely Thief's Tools, Living Keys, were added. A dexterity bonus for Sneak Attack was removed when subbing Thief, protecting its job integrity as a main. Get a barf bucket ready for what I'm about to tell you. Bard could now have 2 songs active at once when using instruments. Oh, and elemental effects of Knight's Min and Valor Minuet songs were weakened. I guess you could equip an Earth Staff and a Fire Staff and then, like, massively overbuff those, but because they decided you can have 2 songs active at once now, you're not allowed to overbuff the one song that bards used to have at a time. Can you believe that? I felt kind of gross when I read that the first time a couple days ago. I was like, no way. No way. Bards used to only be able to have 1 song active? Dude, that's a trash job. That's wasting a party slot. Beastmaster. Charm time changed to reflect level difference and charisma score. Previously, it had no bearing. Pets would no longer become uncharmed by receiving critical hits. The heal ability was added so that people could just make their pet sit still and recover its freaking hit points. You couldn't do that before. Leave was lowered to level 35. It used to be at a point where... Why did you do that? Why did you make them wait so long? Why did you hate Beastmaster and Ranger so much? Tame would no longer have an effect on monsters that are unable to be charmed. To kind of clarify what I'm talking about, Tame, because maybe people don't know this because everyone just uses Jug Pets on Horizon. If you have aggro on a monster and use Tame on it, it cancels the aggro and it white names it and it freezes it in place for a little bit. It will re-aggro you if you're in range of its natural aggro, but it will just like stop that fool in place. It just smoked a fat blunt all at once to its dome, and it's just like, what just happened, bro? Oh, this whole bag, it'll aggro you again, but it used to work on things you couldn't even charm. As in, Tame used to just full cancel aggro completely on literally anything. That would have been cool. I wish Beastmaster got a throw blunt ability that just made literally any enemy just stop in his tracks and be like, nah, never mind, I don't want to kill you. Literally anything. Demons even. Like freaking anything, bro. Also, large-sized monsters, such as certain notorious monsters, and giant sheep, such as the rampaging rams of Kronstadt Highlands and Lathine Plateau, could no longer be charmed. Can you imagine what that must feel like to have a rampaging ram as your freaking pet? And then you familiar it and just walk around the zone with it. I wish, honest to God, that these future HENMs that are coming on horizon, will y'all please? I'm not even a Beastmaster dude. I just think what people have done with Beastmaster is cool, because I know how bad it used to be, and I'm happy to see it get its comeuppance. Can you please make an item that has like multiple craft purposes, and that one of them is to make a jug to summon like a Tavnazian ram for a pet? Because I really want to see like a Beastmaster, even like 5 Beastmasters, throwing a bunch of Tavnazian rams at Genbu and Sky. Like, I don't know why I think that'd be so cool, but it really would. Like, come on, like, bring something back from the past. Beastmasters used to be able to charm the giant rams and everything, man. Give us like an HENM endgame pet that's like just hard to find as being like level 80 even, and just let Beastmaster have a little bit of fun sometimes, right? In the end game, everyone talks about Beastmaster can't do the end game. Well, maybe it shouldn't just be a permanent status fixture where Beastmaster can always do end game, but maybe give them a certain kind of jug where they can decide, do we want to pull out the big ass freaking ram and stomp on a fool? Just saying. I might be a little drunk right now, I'm sorry. Rangers, get your barf bucket. Rangers were now able to use archery and marksmanship weapon skills. Let's take a drink for the homie on that one. Accuracy for ranged attacks raised across the board. Rangers are now able to accumulate TP with ranged attacks. Magic added Curaga 3, Invisible, Sneak, and Deodorize, as well as Re-Raise. Yeah, there was no stealth magic until this time, by the way. Also, skill chain elements were added to Raging, Smash, Avalanche, and Spinning Axe, because for some reason, they didn't skill chain before this. Don't know why. Whoa, excuse me. Actually, I'm gonna say, I'm not sorry for belching, but excuse me. I'm really not sorry for being a human being with bodily functions. So September 28th, the Castle's Vol Charge. This one is really genuinely interesting to me. Just like a full spectrum history of this game's life. This was originally a bunch of monks who were trying to organize a protest rally. Like, there's just stop oil. Sorry, it's because their AF is orange. But it turned it into a sort of a user event like the Bon Odori, where people all decided, like, hey, we have so many people here, let's go to the throne room, man. Freaking no one's even been there yet. A bunch of us have done the Fei Yin fight. It was really hard, fighting the skeletons. But no one even knew what was in Castle's Vol Baileys yet. Very few people had ever been to Castle's Vol Keep, and no one had in-game maps. So, I mean, even if you did, it's not going to help you. Or literally put yourself in these people's shoes, right? No one's been here before. No one has a map. Even if you had a map of Castle's Vol Keep, and you were just looking at it for the first time, would you know where to go? Neither did anybody else. And by the way, Sneak and Invisible were just added to the game, but they were notorious monster drops, and they were heavily camped, and no one was getting access to them. So we got about, let's see what we got. Bahamut 23, Shiva 65, Titan 20. This is reading like numbers in the Bible. Please don't fall asleep. Rama 47, Phoenix 55, Carbuncle 54, Fenrir 55, Sylph 65, Valifor 24, Alexander 36, Leviathan OG 50, Odin 60, Ifrit 36, Diabolos 34, Kate Sith 80, Quetzalcoatl 20, Siren 75, Unicorn 32, Gilgamesh 30, Ragnarok 53. The winners quote-unquote, was the Siren server, by the way, with 22 people reaching the throne room. 90% of everyone else was eliminated in Castles of All Baileys. Very few people made it to the keep, and some actually died in Zarkabard, where they could not be raised. Nobody beat the Shadow Lord. October the 2nd. The TP function was added to chat, because up until this point, people would just say TP OK to indicate that they were ready for their skill chain partner to initiate. Job adjustments. Thank God. The recast delay for Charm was reduced from 5 minutes to 15 seconds. This finally opened the world of Beastmaster's soloing. Magic added. Teleport Vassal and Escape. Damage calculations between higher level players and lower level monsters was adjusted. This meant that a low level monster can deal high damage to a player that is conning it as easy prey. This was to counter higher level players hunting in lower level grounds for easy EXP because people still weren't partying. This is also how easy prey monsters came to be known as the Vorpal bunnies from Monty Python. Elementals would now drop clusters according to their element. What did they drop before? Nothing! They were just annoyances that bothered you. They didn't drop clusters. The only way to get crystals before was from fighting mobs that gave you EXP. So, imagine living in that vanity L for a little while. Although not mentioned by Square, the aforementioned damage calculation adjustments are what made it easier for lower level players to hit higher level monsters. The Shadow Lord was subsequently defeated for the first time the day after this update. And here's the one that's so sad. A glitch that caused players to take damage when they used Flaming Arrow or Hot Shot was corrected. And the reason that's so terrible is you have to understand is that back then, Fusion was the only skill chain, not Distortion. So Rangers, who are finally getting to have their own identity, are the Fusion openers. Yeah, their primary weapon skill hurt them. Imagine how you would feel. I would feel betrayed. I would feel personally attacked at that point. It's like, my own weapon skill hurts me? Why? A message was finally added to the chat to alert users of a successful magic burst. And Invisible, Deodorize, and Sneak were finally added to just White Mage Beastman's drop pools so that everyone could get them. November 6th. And I know this will be of an interest to a certain senile out there. The Pandemonium and Garuda worlds opened for the first time, alongside the sale of the Windows version. Players could not transfer from existing worlds in order to protect the integrity of these new worlds' blossoming economies. So yeah, Garuda was like basically a Windows PC server. You know, it's like, hey, there's a bunch of people could be joining. Here's a server just for y'all. All these PS2 players have had, they're already level 50. We want y'all to be able to start fresh and not have guild be defined by people who are way above you. Talking about people that are already fighting Behemoth at this point. If we got a fresh server, no one's allowed to transfer over here. This is going to be a fresh server, right? So, I never played on Garuda, but that's also something I never got to experience, is what was it like to play this game on a fresh server after there was already a giant chunk of content added to it? And what kind of community would that start to create? Well, maybe that's why Homeboy Senile liked that server so much, and why he still likes it to this day. He's got the patriotism for it that I have for frickin' Leviathan. So, interesting thing I just wanted to point out there. November 7th, the Cerberus world opens. For the aforementioned reasons, transfers are not allowed. November 22nd, the rise of the Zillard expansion pack is first announced. In magazines, pictures were shown of Kazam, Yatunga Jungle, and the Rikia Desert. Later changed to Altepa. Also, looking at these pictures, what is it with Square and all their press releases turning the saturation up to like 9,000%? Everyone knows this game looks like a sepia-toned photograph from the 1930s, silkscreen printed onto a piece of tin. Anyway, November 26th, the level cap is raised to 60. And my fellow thieves out there, get your barf bucket ready. You'll know why in a minute. Artifact armor was added for the 6 basic jobs, including Bard. So Warrior, Thief, Monk, Red, White, Black Mage, and Bard were the first ones to ever receive artifact armor and their quests. Treasure coffers were added to multiple dungeons to coincide with the release of artifact armor, and obviously a bunch of sweet new rewards and a lot of gil. Equipment could now be desynthed with lightning crystals, and the success rate upon introduction was extremely high. No wonder people like Sheena on Leviathan had goldsmithing 100 and 100 plus 3 long before anyone else, because they were farming gigas for 900 gil apiece, sitting on that gil forever until the economy rebalanced itself out and they could start desynthing their equipment and get up to 100 goldsmithing for like 5,000 gil. Dick. Anyway, it's not that much different from early American settlers taking land and claiming it. Just saying. In a way, I guess it's kind of cool that could even happen in an online video game, and that it continued to happen for as long as it did. And even though I was just complaining about it, I have to admit that is one of the reasons that Vana'diel is just so special, you know? Expeditionary Force was introduced, and nobody cared because it sucked. Job adjustments. White Mage was given Divine Seal. Black Mage was given Elemental Seal. Thief was given Trick Attack. Take a drink, homies. Level effing 60 cap. People have already defeated the Shadow Lord for the first time. They're adding new servers because the game is now available on Windows PC. And Thief just now got Trick Attack? What were you doing to my boy? What was you whipping him for like that all that time? What's wrong with you? The previously announced Gil Finder 2 was scrapped. Sad times. Sneak Attack was altered so that when used in conjunction with a weapon skill, only the initial hit would be guaranteed. This ended the magnificent era of Warrior, Thief, Sneak Attack, berserking rampages out for extraordinary damage. Dark Knight finally started receiving its own identity as well, by having Weapon Bash added to its job ability repertoire, and Soul Eater was strengthened to what it is today, and what it used to be was what it used to be on a sub-job. That's what Dark Knight mains used to have, was sub-job Soul Eater. Now, they had the full 10%. Beastmaster, when using Charm on monsters that could not be charmed, would generate a bind effect. And again, gotta take a sip for the boy, Reward was added. Poor Beastmaster. Got dumped on in the background and no one even knew. Magic added. The New Testament. Shell 3, Protector 3, Shellra 2, Shellra 3, Raise 2, Re-Raise 2, Bar Virus, Bar Vera, Bar Petrify, Bar Petra, Sleep 2, Tractor, Salute Dark Knight, getting an identity, Arrow 3, Stone 3, Water 3, Firaga 2, Blizzaga 2, Eroga 2, Stonega 2, Waterga 2, Flare, Freeze, Tornado, Quake, Burst, Flood, Ice Spikes, Blade Magical, Dragon Foam Mambo, Gold Capriccio, Mage's Ballad 2, Shining Fantasia, Foe Requiem 5, Carnage Elegy, The Juice, Victory March, and Foe Lullaby? Y'all had Horde Lullaby since like a month in, but you just now got Foe Lullaby? I mean, that's kind of weird, but, you know, okay, take it. Also, there was a glitch early on where Re-Raise 2 could be cast on other players, which was widely abused because Raise 2 was only obtainable from high-level Yagano Notorious monsters in Castelot's Troja, namely the Yagano High Frickin' Priest, and the cap was 60. Have fun getting Raise 2 on your White Mage, or your Caucasian cat, or your Mayonnaise cat, as some of us say. Spells had their level requirements altered for various magic-using jobs. Chiefly, Red Mage became able to use Invisible, Sneak, and Deodorize. Why did you keep Red Mage out of that until this point? That's kind of unfair. I mean, that basically mandated that Red Mage had to sub White Mage. How else are they going to be able to sneak and invis people if they don't have White Mage sub? This opened the era of Red Mage finally actually being allowed to sub Black Mage by the meta, believe it or not. The cure potency of spells would now reflect the user's mind much more than the target's vitality. This finally allowed Taru Paladin to exist, basically. And there's a bunch of monster distribution adjustments because, they just added Sneak and Invisible, and they realized how necessary it really became to just traverse areas in the first place. And this is like the first time that, if you've ever tried to sneak and invis through a dungeon and the safe spots, the spots where no monsters roam to, and it's like, okay, this spot is safe, I can recast Sneak and Invis here, etc. That's when those blank spots kind of first came into the game to allow you to do that, basically, because it was just way too hectic beforehand, and they kind of throwing a bit of a mercy bone to people at this point. They realized that the game needed to be a little more fundamentally navigatable, and this was around the time that really started to be able to be possible. As evidenced by this little note here, is that Chocobo rentals were now available at telepoints. Chocobo prices would decrease more quickly at telepoints as compared to nation stables. And yet, look at them here, because people dig. Dig. The portal charm was added, allowing simple access to the Toromai Canal. The duration of cursed machines in Bido was significantly reduced. Experience chain bonuses were now displayed in the chat log, and skill chain damage could now be resisted. This is when players stopped relying almost exclusively on fusion and made the switch over to distortion. And this one's going to blow y'all's minds, because I guarantee a lot of you were not aware of this one. TP accumulation now depended on the delay of your weapon. Using two-handed weapons provided an additional bonus to TP gain. It used to be a fixed 5 hits to have 100, nowadays 1000 TP. Everyone was a 5-hit build. Everyone, all the time. Delay didn't matter. Do you understand how good axes and swords were back then now? Bro. What's really sad, though, to me, is, again, this is November 26th, the introduction to the level 60 cap, right? TP accumulation now no longer dependent on your delay. Right as soon as Thief gets access to Dancing Edge, you don't get 5-hit builds anymore. Gotta take another drink for the Thieves, right? That's pain. That's just painful, man. December 19th, Artifact Armor for Paladin, Dark Knight, Beastmaster, and Ranger added. Paladin's quest was bugged, and no one could get Paladin Artifact Armor. Yeah. The recast timer for reward was shortened from 5 minutes to 3. Pet Food Beta became available for purchase. The amount healed with reward was now based on mind. The enmity generated by Sentinel was finally increased from that initial nerf back in the monastic cavern debacle, and cover was added. Cover was added? Did y'all play Final Fantasy IV? Did y'all see the magnificent journey of Cecil Harvey? Going from being a villainous Dark Knight in service to a faceless conglomeration, kingdom, and then becoming a Holy Knight Paladin, serving a righteous purpose, and that he covered his friends and his teammates when they were in danger, because he valued their lives more than his own. That's why he was willing to take the heat for them. That's why he was so cool. And you just now added cover to Paladin? Okay. The effects of Mage's Ballad now increased with skill. 2 ballads stacked on a player, they could acquire an effect of 6 MP a tick. This is a golden age for bards everywhere, because everyone had a G-horn. Imagine that. And that's kind of really the end of 2002 here. I just want to skip ahead to 2003 for 1 second here and mention a little something else at the end while I'm at it, because it's a personal experience of mine. February 5th, BC&M battlefields were added. Star orbs for level 40 BC&Ms cost 50 Beastman seals, and moon orbs for the level 60s cost 99. Be thankful that that's not the case anymore. Job adjustments. Red Mage finally achieved an A+ in enfeebling magic skill. Paladin's axe and great axe skills were removed? Alright, so look, y'all obviously played the Final Fantasy IV. You knew that Cecil equipped great axes and the poison axe and the Gigas axe and all that stuff. That's why you gave Paladin the ability to do the axe thing. Kind of wish you didn't remove that. Might have been pretty sweet rocking a great axe as Paladin and doing the full break. That'd give some really nice job utility to it in end game, just saying. But they never actually had one-handed axes they could equip anyway. So the removal of all this didn't really make much of a difference. But here's the one I wanted to point out. Remember how I just said about 2 months prior to this, bards could get G-horn ballads just with skill level? Yeah. February 5th, Regen and Refresh were added. Refresh didn't even exist. Red Mage did not have the Refresh. Bards were the only ones that had a Dispel and a Refresh at the time. In fact, let me jump ahead here a little bit. Not sure exactly when it was, but it might have been this one. Yes. April 15th is when Red Mage finally had access to Phalanx and Dispel, and White Mage got Erase. So that was in an era when Bard was the only Dispeller and the only Refresher, and every Bard had a G-horn. Like, wow, dude. Crazy, right? Regen did not exist until 2003? White Mages went all the way to level 60 without so much as having Regen 1. Red Mage did not have Refresh. We have all become pussies. We have all become little pink tutu, glittery pink high heels, pantyhose wearing, Swan Lake dancing, sissy hoe bag nerd losers, bro. We are such little babies. These people got to level frickin' 60 without frickin' EXP chains and everything, bro. We are such little pansy crybabies. Let me tell you something. It was 2 months after I quit this game on retail back in the day that Mog wardrobes even got added in the first place. Everyone cry-assing about, excuse me, but I need about 263 more Mog wardrobe spaces so that I can play every single job in the game at absolute maximum capacity all the time at my complete whim and never have to suffer any kind of penalties of any kind or have to, make choices that are deterministic of what I'm going to do. And that's how I feel about that. Anyway, one thing I wanted to mention that I was personal witness to in all this. This was literally right around the time that I had created Flaming Duck and decided didn't want to play Galka. I wanted to play Hume. So that's when I made Valesti. And I'm in South Gustavsburg, okay? I'm leveling Warrior, Red Mage, Thief, Monk, just leveling up my jobs back up to 7, 8, 9, 10, around that point. And there came some update. And this is going to blow your mind. I swear, you are not going to believe this. Do you know what the strongest weapon in this game used to be? I guarantee you are never going to guess that it was the Dynamis Knuckles. The +1 damage, 999 delay Knuckles. They were, at that point, the strongest weapon in the game. As you have learned, hopefully, if you watched up to this point for some reason, TP accumulation used to be really different. One of the reasons that Ranger didn't generate TP was because everyone was a 5-hit build at all times. And that's why Ranger was, at first, given the unique ability to generate TP with ranged attacks. TP accumulation was very different back then. So, with all that in mind, you may be surprised to learn, with everything I have said so far, of all of the careful calculations that Square has taken to nerf every single freaking thing that the players want to do to try and have some freaking fun in this game. Multi-hit weapon skills gave full TP return per hit back then. It wasn't the first hit giving full TP return and then subsequent hits giving 1.0, now 10 TP. For example, if you've ever used a weapon skill, you miss on your main hand and your offhand hits and you only get 10 TP back. That's why, because your initial hit missed and the subsequent hit gave you TP back because it did hit. That wasn't a thing back then. And now they have just made an adjustment to where delay is proportionate to the amount of TP you recover per hit. Monks using Azure and Fists gave them enough TP to use Azure and Fists, which gave them enough TP to use Azure and Fists, which gave them enough TP to use Azure and Fists. Monks, once they got TP for the first time, were in a perpetual state of 100 Fists. They would slug the mob like a Dragon Ball Z character and fast forward until it was dead. And then when the next mob comes in, they'd do it again. It was an endless source of Azure and Fists all the freaking time. This, of course, is when the level cap was raised to 75, but for some reason, no one had just ever decided for quite some time, even though Dynamis, I believe, was introduced in the 70 cap. In the 75 cap era, someone just learned one day, hey, did you guys know if you use Azure and Fist with these things, because the weapon skill Notorious Monsters are new at this point, that you could just Azure and Fist forever? Now, that was a thing that broke the camel's back, because even for quite some time, after these adjustments for TP equals, proportionate to delay, Dragoons, around the point of Zilart coming out, had already discovered that a pentathrust and one auto attack was enough to do another pentathrust, which also meant that you could pentathrust, jump, and pentathrust, and then do an auto attack, and then pentathrust again, and then do an auto attack, and pentathrust again. It wasn't considered a problem necessarily at the time because they made the change to where sneak attack was no longer a guaranteed succession of hits on all hits, but it was certainly enough with the somewhat recent changes to Bard being able to have 2 songs active, where putting up double accuracy songs was now reaching a point where Dragoons were an unlimited source of pentathrust and Monks were an unlimited source of Azure and Fists once they got TP for the first time. That nerf was so severe that, from my own personal experience, 7 people from Solaris quit. These are people who were in their 70s on Dragoon and Monk and decided, I don't want to play this game no more, and they were done with it. So, yeah, now you know a little bit more about the history of this game and where it came from. I hope that you were entertained in some way, and maybe hopefully you have a bit more appreciation for literally how awesome it is here on Horizon, because it's pretty sweet from the game that I used to play. Anyway, for real, thank y'all for your time. And why am I wearing a kitty bell on my choker and this thing, and why is my hair in pigtails? Because I feel like it. I don't know. Anyway, God bless. Appreciate you.